How much faith do you think it takes to really get a miracle? The word faith shows up a lot in relation to miracles of Jesus. It sort of seems like miracles require faith, like fire needs oxygen to burn. But that analogy suggests follow-up questions that no one can answer. Fire needs an oxygen concentration of 14% to ignite. No one can tell you what faith concentration it takes to ignite a miracle, or whether praying for last-minute parking in Iowa takes less faith points than in New York. No one can tell you how to calculate how much faith you've got right now. And no one can give you a solid answer for how to get any more. Honestly, the whole thing feels like turtles all the way down. Jesus claims that the person with the greatest faith he's ever seen is a Roman military officer. In first century Jewish terms, this is almost like saying that the greatest faith you've ever seen came from a member of ISIS. Rome was an occupying power. And the region called Galilee, where Jesus is currently working, is famous for its resistance. Roman soldiers crucified rebels along the roads, sometimes dozens at a time, just to keep everyone scared spitless. And the guy involved here isn't just a soldier, he's an officer, an order giver. By job description, he might as well be a uniformed serial killer. This officer stationed in Galilee has heard stories about Jesus, and when his servant grows ill, he wants to call Jesus for help. But Jesus will surely send him straight to voicemail. So he sends some Jewish community leaders to ask Jesus for a favor. Why would Jewish leaders help a Roman officer? Well, they explain their reason when talking to Jesus. At least if you grade on a curve scaled for monsters, this officer isn't that bad. In fact, he gave them a lot of money to build a local synagogue, so they kind of owe him. If you've been following Luke's story thus far, you might sense the irony in this explanation. Jesus has literally just told his followers that it's no credit to them if they do nice things for those who do nice things for them. If you want to be like God, Jesus said, you should do good to those who mistreat you. Apparently these leaders were checking football scores during that particular sermon. Jesus goes anyway. But before he even gets to the house, the officer sends people to intercept him. He sends a message to Jesus. I'm not even worthy to have you in my house. But I'm a soldier and I know authority when I see it. So give the order from wherever you are, and my servant will get better. This is the moment Jesus declares that this officer's faith is greater than anyone he's seen in Israel. But what did this man get so much more right than everybody else? This Roman officer isn't the only one here who believes that Jesus can heal. That isn't what sets him apart. What sets him apart is his posture. While everyone else is doing mental math to decide if this man has done enough to deserve God's intervention, the officer takes himself out of the center of the equation. He calls himself unworthy, and then he expresses his total confidence in Jesus' ability to act. Anywhere, for anyone. This enemy officer is the only one who's understood what Jesus has been trying to tell everyone else about God. If we're being honest, most of us reason more like the community leaders who came to Jesus. Before we come seeking God for any favors, we imagine we'd better have built up some goodwill capital to trade in. We certainly assume that any enemy officer should have to do a pretty spectacular turn for somebody to inspire God to show up for them. Even faith can start to feel like just another form of currency we have to scrap together in sufficient quantity to somehow earn God's actions. It's just another way to pay for what we get. God will award us the prize if somehow we just believe hard enough. We grit our teeth and try to haul ourselves over that high, slippery bar of faith, even as doubt keeps tickling us under the armpits. But maybe this whole way of thinking misses the point. Faith isn't really about us. Faith is rooted in the discovery we make about Jesus. That discovery is that Jesus doesn't do math. He doesn't calculate good points or faith points and show up only for those who make the minimum payment. There are no points at all. Jesus is just good. Jesus was already going to this man's house to heal his servant. There's no formula to a miracle of Jesus. Sometimes the person healed has great faith. Sometimes the friends who bring them to Jesus do. Sometimes faith isn't mentioned. There's no formula because faith is not a currency we pay for favors with. It's the growing awareness of God's power and goodness that prompts us to send for Jesus at all. Any amount of it is enough of it, because it's not about earning. It's just about beginning to trust and call on the right person. Faith isn't something you get by trying harder. It's what we call it when you begin to grasp the unthinkable truth that you don't have to. Surprising as it feels, this seems to be what Jesus wants most from people. Not for us to earn our favors, but for us to start suspecting that God is good enough to give them away regardless, even to enemy officers. Let's read the story in Luke 7, verses 1 to 10. When Jesus had finished saying all this to the people, he returned to Capernaum. At that time, the highly valued slave of a Roman officer was sick and near death. When the officer heard about Jesus, he sent some respected Jewish elders to ask him to come and heal his slave. So they earnestly begged Jesus to help the man. "If anyone deserves your help, he does," they said, "for he loves the Jewish people and even built a synagogue for us." So Jesus went with them. But just before they arrived at the house, the officer sent some friends to say, "Lord, don't trouble yourself by coming to my home, for I am not worthy of such an honor. I'm not even worthy to come and meet you. Just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. I know this because I am under the authority of my superior officers, and I have authority over my soldiers. I only need to say go, and they go, or come, and they come. And if I say to my slaves, do this, they do it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed. Turning to the crowd that was following him, he said, "I tell you, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel." And when the officer's friends returned to his house, they found the slave completely healed. I'm Meghan Good, and this has been Reading Jesus. Thanks for joining me for a few minutes in Luke, and I'll see you next time.